Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Farmer Safety Corner, where we're going to talk about winter safety. I'm going to go through some tools and resources that we have available on the Farm Safety Nova Scotia website that you can use as your own in hopes of creating some reminders and safety training for your work group on the farm. The first thing I wanted to take a look at today is our cold stress policy. This will come in handy because not only is it a commitment to operating safely in regards to cold situations, but it gives you lots of information on how to do that. So let's take a look. So we have the cold stress policy in the generic workbook templates, but we also have them in the workbook templates for the commodity specific plans for the fruit growers, as well as for the Christmas Tree Council. So we're going to look at the one specifically for just the generic plan. So to do that, we're going to click on Start Your Farm Safety Plan. And here it says Build a Farm Safety Plan. And it gives you a little bit of information, but then you're going to scroll down because it is broken up into 5 different sections, just like the guidebook that you can find here in this PDF document. So when you click Section 2, it will bring up everything that is in Section 2. And then at the very top is where we would look at those workbook templates, such as trying to find our cold stress policy. We can always do this too by just typing cold stress into the search button here and then finding our way there that way. So you can click on workbook and then download workbook files. And what this will do is bring up all of the templates we have available in Section 2 of the generic farm safety plan. So in here you can see cold stress is part of the supplements that we have created. So they weren't one of the original documents that we initially created as part of this project, but we've added in based on your needs and requirements. So let's click on cold stress policy. What this does is downloads a Word document of the policy. So you can use this as your own. So just click Enable Editing here, and you'll be able to change and adapt it to however you see fit. One of the key things is you'll notice in all of these areas, you'll see a highlighted bold farm name. Now, instead of typing this all in by hand, what you can do is change it all at once in one spot. So if you click File, Info, Properties, Advanced Properties, Custom, and then down here you'll see farm name. If you click on farm name, here we'll be able to type in ABC Dairy Farm. And then you click Modify and press OK. So when we go back by clicking this back arrow, and you see everything that's highlighted now, let's even include this. We can highlight the whole entire document by hitting Control A. And then if you right click on your mouse or your trackpad, it will say update field, edit field, toggle field codes. So what we're going to say is update field. And when we do that, you can now see everything is set up as ABC Dairy Farm. So wherever there was farm name, now says ABC Dairy Farm. Excellent, fast, easy work into being able to adapt your own farm safety plan. Now, what we want to look at here is just the outline of what is included in this cold stress exposure control policy. So we have your preliminary information of why you're going to build this policy and how we would reference and have this policy in accordance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations, as well as your current health and safety program on the farm. We go through the different definitions, and this is a key one right here. ACGIH, you're like, what is this? This is the American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists tables and publications for different threshold and limit values and biological exposure limits for heat. Cold is included in this, as well as other things that you may come across in occupational health and safety legislation. So we're going to get more in depth, and I've actually copied and pasted some of these tables with reference to the ACGIH for your information for ease of collecting information and reference. So we go through a policy statement. So what is your commitment? We want to outline the roles and responsibilities for your workplace parties. So the employer, the workers, maybe your health and safety committee. But if you don't have over 20 employees within your farm, then you're probably going to have a representative. So a representative is required for 5 to 19 workers on your farm. So you choose which best applies, if any. And then we're going to go through the actual cold stress hazard assessment. So is it an issue on farm for you? So we look at temperature, we look at wind chill. We have some crazy wind chills here in Nova Scotia. Wind speed, duration of exposure, the worker's actual physical condition is taken into consideration, and the clothing that they're wearing. So this table here is a great little table, and let me maybe make this a little bit bigger. There we go. And so this assessment will count for, and as you saw, ACGIH standard, this is one of their tables, factoring in the cooling power of wind. So you can actually take the estimated wind speed, which is here, with the actual temperature here, and figure out what your wind chill is and what danger it could possibly be. So do you want to continue to work at that specific temperature? Because if you're here, as you can see, it says great danger. Flesh may freeze within 30 seconds. Probably not going to work in those conditions. And I don't think in Nova Scotia we've gotten this cold, but you never know. I haven't seen the historical values. And then in this section here, this is increased danger from freezing of exposed flesh within 1 minute. So still looking at, and we've seen these temperatures here to probably about -42 to -45. So this is a huge consideration for those very, very cold days. And then of course, little danger here in about an hour or less than an hour with dry skin, maximum danger of false sense of security. So probably wanting to take some action there and making sure you take your breaks from the cold. So we can use the information we find in this table to move forward in control of thermal conditions for both indoors and outdoors. Protection where thermal conditions cannot be controlled. What do you do? Monitoring those conditions and personal monitoring, right? Looking for those signs and symptoms. Devices to make the air less cold. Is that possible depending on the location of the work on your farm? Because if it's outdoors in the field still, this may not be possible, but maybe you could create a makeshift shelter. Would that be something that would work? Do you have a vehicle there? That could be a makeshift shelter and turn on the heat for a few minutes, not too hot because you don't want to become sweaty. You just want to take a little bit of a break from the cold. What are some of your administrative and work controls? So scheduling, can we change the work from this really, really cold day to one that may be more mild? And in Nova Scotia, that could change in a couple of hours or in a couple of days. So also looking at our second table here, here's our work to warm up schedule for a 4-hour shift. So keep in mind, this is only 4 hours. Most of us are working 8, 10, 12, depending on your operation, even longer than that. So how do you adjust your breaks according to this particular table? What is the PPE and proper clothing that should be worn? And they even give you the conditions of, or sorry, the types of layers, such as an inner layer of wool, silk, or synthetic to wick moisture away from the body. That is key. We don't want that moisture to stay close to the body because when it does, we get more cold. And then a middle layer of wool or synthetic to provide insulation when it's wet. Wool is very insulating when it's wet. And then of course our protective outer layer to prevent us from getting wet, especially if we're working in heavy snow. Wearing your hats, your insulated boots. I always keep a dry set of clothing with me whenever I'm going out, especially out to the property and working outdoors, just in case I do get wet. So avoid any tight-fitting clothing and wear anything that is able to wick away that moisture, of course. We talked about a little bit heated shelters. Hydration is key as well. When we're hydrated, we can moderate our body temperatures a little bit better. So try to avoid those dehydrating drinks like caffeine or alcohol. And then, of course, you eat some of your high caloric foods, which as they digest, increases your metabolism, which increases your body temperature as well. Removal and treatment for cold exposure. So if we do get exposed, what happens next? I'm going to talk about where to access first aid training so you can recognize the signs and symptoms of cold-related illnesses as well. Acclimatizing. Is it possible? Are you in a place, and sometimes here we go from plus 14 all the way down to minus 10 the next day. So acclimatization isn't as easy, but if it is possible, if you notice it's just slowly getting colder, allow your bodies to adapt to those changing in temperatures. Cold stress training and education, here's the first aid that I talked about, which will show you how to access that type of training. The cold stress signs and symptoms, which you'll also learn in first aid, and then involving your subcontractors in this particular practice so that you can protect them as well. And so that is your cold stress policy in a nutshell. You can download this, adapt it to your own farming specific needs. So add in what your heated shelters would look like and when you would access those, what clothing you want them to wear, add specifics to how you want to govern cold stress on your particular farm. And then of course I showed you how to change that farm name. Let me know if you have any questions on any of these resources that I'm showing you. You can simply put them in the chat at the bottom of your screen. Just hit the bubble that says chat and type away. Or there's also a Q&A, so you can send questions specifically to me, and you can type your question there, and I'll keep an eye out and answer those more towards the end. So let's move on to that first aid training I was talking about. So here on our website, just below just at the, I should say, the top of the page, next to resources, we have a tab called training. If you click that, you will see training and workshops gives you just some information on how we govern them. Workplace safety courses will give a list of courses. We even go through endorsement testing, the online training, and webinars and workshops that we offer. So workplace safety courses includes our first aid training. So I'm going to click on that. And here you'll see emergency and standard first aid. So you can click there. And then it gives an outline of what each is, including blended learning options as well. And going through cost, time in class, and all the details you need right here of how many first aiders you would require based on your farming operations. Now, I have another document that can help you figure out first aid training, but here is where you would request the course and the types of courses. But if we go back to our generic farm safety plan, and we scroll down and we go under section 5, staying prepared, workbook, download workbook files, right here is a first aid needs evaluation. So this document is awesome. It is also downloaded in a Word document so you can use it to adapt to your own specific needs. But this helps you figure out how many first aiders you need on your farm, as well as the level of training and the number of first aid kits. So here, depending on your breakdown, this is where you can insert all of your information to add as a summary. But down here, number of workers in the location, you can see though, if you have one worker and number of first aiders needed is 1 at emergency first aid level instead of standard, just emergency. And then of course, the level 1, 2, or 3 first aid kit. Level 1 would be plenty for just one person. But it's up to you on the content you would like to have. A driver or an operator also needs to have first aid at the emergency level. Then for every 1 to 19 people, you need at least 1 first aider as well. So driver, operator being specific. Now for 1 to 19, making sure you still have that emergency first aider, but a level 2 and up first aid kit. And then for 119 to remote work area, it changes a little bit. So this is an area where you don't quickly have access to help. And we give more direction on what remote is down below. You need at least one first aider and then 30% of workers. So whichever is your condition. So for one, it's a standard first aid person. But if it's 30% of your workers, it's emergency first aid level. So whichever you choose to train 30% and train them at emergency, or just one at standard first aid. Keeping in mind, when your one person leaves the site or is not available for work or calls in sick that day, you still need a backup. So there still has to be at least one person. So you may want to consider who's going to be the backups for each of these conditions. And then it goes into 20 to 49, 50 to 99, and 100. So feel free to download this particular resource to figure out your number of first aiders and the level of training, and then request that course using the training button that I showed you previously. Also, what we have available is called Farmer Safety Rallies. So on your resources button, again, going back to this page where you see build a farm safety plan, the commodity specific plans, here is Farmer Safety Rallies. And what these are little mini training sessions or safety meetings. And they're safety meeting templates. So everything that you need to know on how to hold a safety meeting is here in particular. And we have some topics here related to winter safety that may come in handy. Some key ones are under machine safety. So if you click machine safety, you will see we have generators, PTO generators, and snow blowers. So let's click on snow blowers. Again, this opens up a Word document. Just click on it. And I'll bring it up here a little bit. And you'll see that this document is 2 pages. And in the first page, this is all the information on using snowblower. And we have just the regular snowblower in its machine itself, but we also have the snowblower attachments for your tractor. So we talk about PTO and things like that. So there's the 2 types of snowblowers that are mentioned here. And then on the second page, this prompts your discussion for the safety meeting. So it gives you some information here or agenda items that you might want to bring up, places to document your discussion, any near misses or unsafe acts or conditions that were brought up, and then perhaps topics that may have been brought up as a result of this discussion to have for future rallies. We go through some test your knowledge questions here to see if those who were attending the meeting were paying attention. And then of course, a spot to add who attended the meeting with their signatures, acknowledging that they participated and they understood the information that was delivered. You could print one of these for the entire group on farm, or if you want people to have access to this information, you can print one for each of the workers that are attending the meeting. It is up to you how you want this to work. So instead of maybe if you have each worker fill one out, put their name instead of maybe the farm name if it's not being done as a group. So a few meetings there that you can have that relate to winter safety under, and then specifically in regards to machine safety, but we could also look at personal protective equipment, maybe safety shoes. What type of shoes, boots should be used for winter? What type of tread is good for walking on ice and snow? So if you're not sure, a great resource too is, say if you go to Mark's Work Warehouse and you're buying particular boots, you could ask the sales representatives there what is best for walking on snow and ice for that particular season. Also under seasonal safety, we can't forget about protecting our eyes. So when we consider the snow that may be laying on the ground, and then when the sun comes out, the reflection of the UV rays off the sun can be quite harmful to our eyes. So making sure you're protecting your eyes from UV rays is going to be key. And we have an excellent safety meeting here with information on how to do that and what to expect for a good UV protectant safety glass. Because if you're going to use sunglasses, you might as well use safety glasses and protect your eyes in that aspect as well. Put 2 in 1. Excellent. Now, speaking of winters, for some of us, this is not something we prefer to engage in. We like the long hours of summer, we like the heat. So for some of us, we may be a little bit more depressed during this time of year. And we have resources for that as well. We launched our We Talk, We Grow campaign in May of 2021. And here we have different information and resources in regards to mental health. And we have prevention, protection, engagement. So typically, if you're good throughout most of the year, but when we hit the winter time, you struggle a little bit more, maybe we need some more resources on prevention. So how do we maintain that current mental fitness that we typically have going into the winter season? So here's lots of different tools and resources to help us with that. We have the Farm Family Support Center, who can help us, give us little hints and tips on what we need, and they're there even for engagement. So if you need further support, please feel free to call this number or visit their website. So when you click learn more about Farm Family Support Center, here's a link to the actual workhealthlife.com webpage. But if you prefer talking to a person, this is the phone number to call. And they can help with your mental health initiatives on how to maintain mental fitness, or if you need engagement there, relationships, finances, legal, so much more. So reach out. Is 3 hours free at no cost. And then they can help figure out what other support and resources you may need. But down below, we have maintaining mental fitness posts. This has almost 21, 22 different micro skills on how to maintain your mental fitness. And journaling, I just hear so much about journaling, writing down your thoughts. And one of the items in our mental health kits is a notebook. And this is a great way just to write down your thoughts, your ideas, how you're feeling, and just kind of get those expressions out and maintain your mental fitness that way. So journaling is good. How do you support others? Suicide ideation is, how do you have that conversation with somebody who you think might be thinking about suicide? And we have also In the Know training, as well as mental health first aid training, which goes in more in depth on tools and resources on having those conversations. So look towards that training. We actually have mental health first aid coming up in the winter, as well as In the Know. I will show you how to access those particular courses and full details and how to register in just a second here. But also, we have the 8 domains of well-being. So there's a full list of just different resources, health stress inventory assessments that you could use just to help maintain your mental fitness. We have apps that you may want to use to download. Doodle app is great for also writing down your thoughts. We have recorded webinars that we did throughout the winter of 2020 and 2021 that you can have access to. Just reach out to me or info@Farm Safety, and I can give you the link to those recordings. And here's mental health first aid and In the Know, both offered at no cost. So let me show you how to access those tools and resources, or training, sorry. You do that under events on the Farm Safety Nova Scotia website. Hit the events calendar. And here you'll see all of the different training events we have, as well as even our AGM that's coming up next Friday. So you can also put it in the search here and click mental health first. You don't even have to put everything in there. Just let it load. And here, you click on this and it will lead you there. So you can add it to the cart. You can bring it back into the calendar. So this one in particular leads you to February 8th and 9th, but we also have mental health first aid training in January as well. We have just funding to offer it at no cost, only twice this year. So take advantage. There's a few spots left in both sessions, but I'll go back through to the events calendar. I like looking at this in the list You might prefer if it goes to the list. It won't. It typically does, but that's all right. We can go to December. We're not offering any mental health first aid in December. We just have the Farmer Safety Corner coming up, but let's move to 2022, January. And here you'll see January 13th is in the know, but virtual mental health first aid is on the 11th and 12th. So both of these are virtual due to COVID-19 restrictions and based on the program requirements. And then of course, we mentioned February. I have mental health first aid again, 8th and 9th, within the know on the 17th. And then in March, we have in the know on the 17th as well. So you just click, scroll through, it gives you all the information, and then it says to register, click here. And here you're going to register through putting in the name of the person and pressing register, and you'll get a link from Zoom. Easy to do. So you could do that for each of the training courses required. So just getting close to the top of the hour here. I'm just going to check the Q&A for any questions in the chat. In the Q&A, I have a question. Can I get help with building a cold stress policy or even a farm safety plan? Yes, we can do that through advisory services. So here, if you put in advisory and even just press enter from that, brings up advisory services, and it goes through what we offer in relation to advisory services, but it is at a fee. There's a fee for members and a fee for non-members. So regardless if you're a member or not, it's still accessible. So I will come out to farm, evaluate what your needs are, and provide a quote. Now, the good news is, depending on what you would like in regards to either if it's building a farm safety plan or doing that gap assessment, there's funding available under Nova Scotia Business Advisory Services. So here, I was actually just looking at this before we came online today. They're offering up to 75% funding for these specific initiatives. So here, your food safety plan is also included, but look, a farm health and safety plan. So your needs assessment, hazard assessment, development of the farm safety plan, occupational hygienist services, and engineering certification. So we would fall under here, and cold stress policy would be included with this. So we could also go ahead with a full farm safety plan. So you would use the Business Advisory Services website. You can see it here. It's under Programs, Business Advisory Services on the novascotia.ca website. And here's the application form. So you can get a quote from us and then apply and then see if you're covered. So here we're operating from April to December. The claim deadline is March 1st, 2022. So you still have time to apply to use these services. Let me just check to see if we have anything else in the Q&A. Okay, yes. The question is, we've seen in the e-news, phase 2 inspections can also be helpful in finding out if we're compliant to occupational health and safety. Can I have more information on this? Absolutely. So here, if you click phase 2 and click on farm inspection initiative, this goes through the different phases of the inspection initiative. So those who are not aware, occupational health and safety, or the current labor skills and immigration department, started an initiative with Farm Safety Nova Scotia in 2016, where we've decided that it would be best to start an educational program to help farms understand what their requirements are in relation to the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the Occupational Health and Safety regulations. So to do that, we've gone through phase 1 inspections, which is a group of farms getting together on one farm and going through the different hazards on farm. But phase 2, as you can see here, is individual on-farm inspections. So individual farms can invite myself and Occupational Health and Safety, and we will tour the entire farm and let you know of different components that an Occupational Health and Safety officer will be looking for during an inspection. So the different hazards that may exist on farm and methods for control or the requirements for control. We've done one inspection so far this year, and Occupational Health and Safety would like to see 15 to 20 done by March 22 to stay in this educational phase. If we don't have enough farms during this particular phase, then we will automatically move into compliance inspections. So phase 2, these educational inspections are non-compliance. You're not written any orders from Occupational Health and Safety. It's strictly information purposes, educational. You do get a report of a list of things that we talked about, and then I will support that report with other information resources to help you become compliant. But it is up to you as a farm of how you incorporate the information that's provided during those inspections. So please reach out to me, Albert Coast at nsfa-fane.ca if you want to sign up for a phase 2 inspection, or if you want me to come out and do an evaluation of your farm to build a farm safety plan. So yeah, we can work together in those particular aspects. One last check on the Q&A. And I don't see any additional questions. So I will sign off here, and until next month when we talk about animal safety. So I'll go through the different tools and resources we have on the Farm Safety website and answer any of your questions that come up in relation to animal safety. Bye for now.